Chairman, thank you. Thank you for being here and for the work that you're doing. The challenge that we have is there's really two ways to be able to streamline permitting. One is to create a permitting streamlining entity and everything stays the same and try to figure out how to be able to get everybody in the same room, figure out how to be able to work out convoluted, contradictory statutes and to be able to solve it. And the other one is to fix the contradictory statutes that are causing the problem in the first place. Do you see that as part of the mandate that you have at this point to be able to identify where the conflicting statutes and then to be able to report that back to us, or is it just a matter of work with what you got?
I think our role at the Permitting Council is to work with the underlying legislation as it exists and identify pinch points where the conflict exists, and then once we identify the solutions, which we do on a daily basis, our projects are navigating these different environmental statutes towards issuing decisions that deliver these projects. And once we've identified those solutions where there are conflicts, we identify that as a best practice, elevate that, and then share that with agencies to ensure that we don't encounter that same issue again, or that we have a strategy in place to resolve it if it should emerge.
How do we get those conflicts, those pinch points that you're getting so that we can determine how to be able to fix those in statute or to be able to come back through regulation to different agencies and say, how do we fix a regulation that is contradictory?
Sure. Right now, we provide annual reports to Congress on the performance of the Permitting Council. We also provide quarterly reports on how the agencies are complying with FAST 41. The specific information that you're requesting are not in those reports.
Right. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I think we'd be happy to follow up with you to figure out if there is additional information that would be helpful for you as we are looking across the landscape. Right now, we do not provide that information.
Okay. That's information I think it would be helpful to us. I think at this point, Congress has created over decades different laws and statutes that are out there that are being implemented, and where there are contradictions over decades, people are trying to figure out how to be able to work around rather than getting it back to us and saying, hey, this is a problem that Congress made. Congress needs to fix it.
Sure.
I think that would be helpful for everybody. I'm not trying to put you out of a job because there's still plenty of issues that would be dealt with there, but it might make the job easier to not have to try to figure out how to navigate three things that have conflict with each other to be able to solve that. But we can't see that. You see it on a daily basis, and it's not right for the American people for that to be kept from us, and so that we don't have the opportunity to be able to fix it. So that'd be helpful. The categorical exclusions is one of those things that was put in years ago that doesn't seem to have worked very effectively. I know that's under the $200 million mark on it, that's smaller, but it's one of many examples that I see of attempts to be able to help streamline this process that hasn't been effective in the past. It'd be helpful for us to be able to get back both the things to you, what you're working through already, to be able to review legislation to say these things would be helpful, but it'd also be helpful to be able to get the different details on it. GAO recently did a study looking at just the broadband implementation and the permitting issues on that. I know you're not dealing with that a lot right now, but they set a goal to be able to have permitting decisions and such made with 270 days. That's still a really long time. The painful part is they're not making the 270-day even mark. That's the goal to be able to be made, but that's not actually making that goal. When you look at the permitting issues that you're dealing with right now and trying to be able to navigate through, what's a typical time to be able to get through the permitting process of a different projects? And you can pick small to large.
Well, that's a question that we get often, Senator, and I appreciate the opportunity to kind of provide a little context around the work that we do. When you compare timelines outside of FAST 41, it is very much kind of an apples to oranges, because FAST 41 is the only process in government that actually tracks a project from start to finish throughout all of the environmental reviews and permitting. But also inherent with that is the uniqueness of each project and the different issues that each project may have and the different permits and approvals that may be associated with each project. So we don't have good data yet, but we are getting there on the average timeline for FAST 41 projects and to be able to report out on the benefits of that. What I would say is we are seeing projects move through the process efficiently and hitting their marks more for permitting timetables. I think we are on the improving upswing here for permitting. Also, to just pivot back to a point that you made about categorical exclusions and broadband, we have provided significant funding to the NTIA to support their efforts to do efficient environmental reviews and approvals of broadband projects. That is both in capacity as well as in IT investments so that they have greater automated systems to process the flood of applications that are going to result from BEAD. There's also support to U.S. Forest Service for reviewing applications on Forest Service lands, which many of these remote areas may cross. We've also provided support to the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to extend a program comment to allow for a more efficient process for Section 106 review for broadband. So understanding that the target of 270 may not currently be met, I haven't seen the GAO report, but we are making significant efforts to improve that and make sure that we are meeting the demands of the program.
Okay. September of 23, y'all put out a proposed rule dealing with mining. In that proposed rule that hasn't been finalized yet, as far as is that set to be finalized soon, or do you know a timeline when that'll be finalized?
We do not have a timeline yet. We are still considering the comments received, and the way that process will work, we will have to have a vote of the permitting council, so all the deputy secretaries will take a majority vote.
I have one of the comments in that, so good to
You
be able to
do, yes.
hear that. One of the comments was coming from me that I put in actually in November of 23, asking why the narrowing, because you seem to narrow it on the mining portion to critical minerals, which excludes rare earths, excludes gravel, excludes nickel, and lots of copper, lots of other minerals that are obviously very important to our national security and to our economy, were excluded from that initially in the proposed rule. My question from November of 23, and still my question now, is why the narrowing there? Not looking at national significant or economically significant or national security significant minerals. Why that narrowing, and is that a part of the dialogue at this point?
It is definitely the part of the dialogue now, and the reasoning behind the proposed rulemaking when it was put out was the administration has really put a laser focus on domestic sourcing of critical minerals because of all the benefits that you've identified, economic competitiveness, national security. And as part of an all-of-government approach to really uplift the domestic sourcing of critical minerals, the rule was seen as a way to prioritize the effort of the agencies towards those projects. Obviously, we received comments back from a number of stakeholders who were shared similar concerns. Many of the concerns were around the narrowing, and we are still considering those comments. As I mentioned, we do not have a timeline at this point for finalizing.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I can just make one quick comment on this. If we don't have more copper, we're not going to do electrification. And so I know that's not on the critical minerals list, but if we're talking about electrification, we have to have more copper to be able to do that. And we have to have more rare earth minerals as well to be able to do almost anything in national security or in electrification. So I do get the critical mineral side, but as far as for our economy and our national security, there's a broader swath of minerals that'll be important as well. I'll let you go through all the review process you've got. Thank you.